President Autopin was the commander-in-chief. No questions about his inability to construct sentences, let alone foreign policy. But here we are with a fake story. But this is what happens when you have a party that has reached actually not rock bottom yet. Not rock bottom yet. But they got nothing. Zero. No issues, no leader, fringe issues define them. So they're going to glom onto the story of the day. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing for them.
Listen, I just saw a clip that perfectly encapsulates the absolute circus happening on Capitol Hill right now. We're going to look at some footage where Adam Schiff, that Adam Schiff tries to play national security super spy while Senator Eric Schmitt absolutely dismantles the entire Democratic narrative. In our version today, we're actually going to start with Schiff's little interrogation first. Why? Because you need to see the smug, holier-than-thou attitude he brings to the table before you see him get absolutely torched. By some actual common sense and Missouri grit, Schiff is obsessed with these what-if scenarios about encrypted apps, while his own party leaders are out there literally calling for whirlwinds against the Supreme Court. It is peak hypocrisy, guys. Grab your coffee, grab your popcorn, because this is the definition of a shutdown. Let's roll the tape.
You served during the first administration as the NSC legal advisor. In that capacity, you must have participated in dozens, if not hundreds, of principal meetings organized by the National Security Advisor. Did you conduct any of those meetings by text chat that involved military strike plans?
No, I don't believe so.
So the entire first 4 years of the Trump administration, you never had a text chat conversation about plans to strike targets using an unencrypted or using a commercial app?
Well, I'm not aware of any such an incident anyhow.
And you didn't do that because that would have been a terrible national security breach of protocol, would not?
I would have to know a lot more to know whether that would be a breach.
Would you really need to know more than a conversation about military targets, the time of the attack, the location of the targets, the ordnance being used?
Sure, you'd want to know whether the device is up to a certain level so that it could. I mean, you might make one that
Okay, we're talking about a commercial app like Signal. Would it ever be appropriate to discuss imminent plans to strike military targets on a commercial app?
I still think it's very difficult to answer that question in the abstract. I mean, I could think of circumstances in which you could, sure.
Oh, well, give us a circumstance in which you can talk about an imminent military attack unknown to the public, where it would be appropriate to do so on a commercial app.
Okay, something absolutely urgent happens and needs to go right now, and your normal communication systems don't work. I mean, there's an example where you may have to do something like that.
And where you have access to classified facilities, it would be completely inappropriate, wouldn't it?
I still need to know more.
Really? Wow. And you want to lead the National Security Department at the DOJ, and you would need to know more?
Yes, Senator, I'd like to lead the NSD, and I think I'm exceptionally qualified to do so.
And do you fail to believe the NSA and the DOD when they say that the use of commercial apps like Signal is a security threat and inappropriate for confidential or sensitive data?
I haven't heard what either of those entities has said.
So you don't have any idea what the view of the intelligence community is about the use of commercial apps to conduct government business involving classified or sensitive national security information? You have no idea what the position is?
No, I'm sure the position is that in general that should never happen.
Okay, so what happened in this Signal chat should never have happened. Do you agree with that?
No, as I said before, I would need to know more.
Have you read the Signal chat?
I have not yet.
Yeah, you have not read it. Are you desiring to be willfully blind to what just happened?
No, I was trying to prepare for this hearing, among other things.
Oh, and you didn't anticipate you'd be asked about this? Or is it because you anticipated you would be asked about this, you didn't want to inform yourself of this incredible breach of national security?
There are millions of things going on in the world at any given time, so I just didn't happen to learn about this one.
Oh, I see. There are millions of things going on. Yes, I'm sure there are millions of things going on in the world. But this happens to be probably the biggest national security story of the month, which included a lot of other national security stories, including a war in the Middle East and including capitulation to Putin and Russia. But you just happened to neglect to read this one. Is that what we're led to believe?
I just happen not to read it, that's all.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're using a commercial app to discuss the identity of targets, their locations, and that information were to become public, it could compromise those operations, couldn't it?
It depends on what the operation is and where in the operation.
Well, let's say an operation to strike targets in Yemen, Houthi targets that identify, say, a top missile operative and the location of the girlfriend's building. Those kind of specific details discussed on a commercial app could jeopardize that operation if it became public.
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
It depends on the circumstances. And
Well,
that's
I just
why-
gave you the
And that's why I'm not
circumstances.
going to answer a hypothetical question.
Well, it's not hypothetical. I wish to hell it were hypothetical. This just happened. This was shared with a journalist on a commercial app. You need more information than that? Well, how about discussing denigrating our European allies on a commercial app? Could that have diplomatic fallout?
I don't know the circumstances.
Really? So the vice president's conversations on this app, others joining in and disparaging Europe, this is completely new information to you. You're unaware. You can't comment on whether that could interfere with our relationship with our closest allies?
No, I heard of the incident. I just at this point hadn't had time to look at it closely.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer, sir, and before I make decisions and form opinions,
President Autopin was the commander-in-chief. No questions about his inability to construct sentences, let alone foreign policy. But here we are with a fake story. But this is what happens when you have a party that has reached, actually not rock bottom yet. Not rock bottom yet. But they got nothing. Zero. No issues, no leader, fringe issues define them, so they're going to glom onto the story of the day, and quite frankly, it's embarrassing for them. Just like, by the way, these calls to, come out against violence, the only thing, district court rulings, the only thing that's been talked about are political solutions. The only person I remember standing in front of the Supreme Court calling for a whirlwind on Justice Kavanaugh and other Supreme Court justices that were followed up by assassination attempts of Supreme Court justices, that were followed up by violent protests outside their homes where they had to move out of their homes, was Chuck Schumer. And as long as we're denouncing violence, how about firebombing Tesla dealerships? This Antarctic kind of strain runs through the left. And to my Democrat friends, I feel bad for you because your party has been captured by a radical element that is pro-Hamas, that is pro-violence, that is firebombing, Tesla dealerships because they don't like that Elon Musk has actually found the grift out and is cutting it out. The NGOs that have laundered money for Democrat causes for years, it's all coming to an end and they don't know how to handle it. So anyway, as far as sort of some of these rulings, I would point out that in the most recent case with the Venezuelan thugs who've now been imprisoned in El Salvador, the apex of presidential power is, as Justice Jackson wrote in the Youngstown Steel case in his concurrence, is that the apex when you have congressional delegation or core Article II powers as commander-in-chief. And the district court, in citing the Alien Enemies Act, where whether wartime or invasion or predatory incursion, the president is acting within his authority. The district court has no more authority to tell the president he can't do that than they can, speaking of national security, directing troop movements or missile strikes. So when we talk about separation of powers, it does go both ways. It does go both ways, and there's been this obsession with getting all of you on the record about following court orders. The President of the United States has said he will follow court orders time and time again, but it's this desire to just stir up something because they have nothing. That's what's going on here. I did want to ask, with the time that I have left, Mr. Davis, you have done a lot of great work investigating a lot of things. The origins of COVID. I'm just curious. So when I was Attorney General of Missouri, we actually sued Communist China for unleashing the COVID pandemic. We received a $24 billion default judgment recently. But when we filed that lawsuit, it was interesting, the reaction. You were called a racist if you implied anyway that it leaked out of Wuhan, which was very obvious to most people. And now the intelligence community, who for some reason resisted that conclusion for such a long time, has basically said that's what happened. What do you think, as you were investigating this, what was behind that? What was behind this resistance to all the evidence and the obvious nature of the origins of COVID?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I appreciated speaking with you yesterday. That was great. The report that I authored on the House Intelligence Committee about the origins of COVID, unfortunately, is still classified, so I can't really get into the specifics of what it found. We did do an unclassified summary, which, just given the nature of the underlying information, was unfortunately not terribly revelatory. I would note that when then President Biden instructed the intelligence community to do a sort of comprehensive review on the COVID origins, the subsequent report they put out and the declassified version of it, there were serious flaws with. And I think those flaws, you mentioned that individual components have changed their public view, but I do think that until there's more transparency about what was going on within those elements of the intelligence community, the people won't really know the full story, unfortunately.
Thank you. Well, it is also interesting that that Fauci played a very significant role in this, and maybe we'll be hearing from him in some committee hearings sometime soon too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Eisenberg.
Wow. Just wow. Did you guys see that? Let's talk about Adam Schiff for a second. The man is a professional at being willfully blind to his own parties. Disasters while obsessing over whether a lawyer used the Signal app. He's sitting there looking down his nose at Mr. Eisenberg, trying to trap him in a hypothetical about imminent military attacks. It's the same old Schiff. All drama, all bombshells that never explode, and zero substance. He wants to talk about security threats. How about the threat of a political party that can't even denounce firebombing businesses? And then enter Senator Eric Schmitt. Man, I love this guy. He didn't just walk into that room. He brought the heat. Schmitt calls it exactly like it is, rock bottom. He points out that while Schiff is playing detective with encrypted messages, the actual leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, was standing on the steps of the Supreme Court literally threatening justices. Schmitt doesn't let them off the hook. He connects the dots that the mainstream media refuses to touch. The assassination attempts, the violent protests, and the firebombing of Tesla dealerships. That's the radical element Schmitt is talking about. While the Democrats are glomming onto the story of the day and obsessed with censorship and Fauciism, Schmitt is over here talking about the $24 billion judgment he got against China for the COVID pandemic. That is real work. That is real accountability. Schmitt's point about the grift of NGOs and the laundering of money for Democrat causes is the stuff they don't want you to hear. That's why Schiff has to keep talking about Signal chats. He's trying to distract you from the fact that the radical left has completely hijacked his party. Senator Schmitt just showed us the difference between a politician who wants to pose for the cameras and a leader who wants to expose the truth. Schiff is the past. Schmitt is the future. Missouri, you guys definitely sent a lion to the Senate. What do you guys think? Is Schiff the most hypocritical man in DC, or does someone else take the crown? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like this video if you're tired of the double standards. Stay vigilant. I'll see you in the next one.